chains that were holding me. You sent your son down to set me free. Everything of this world will fade. I'm pressing on till I see your face. I will live that your will be done. I won't stop till your kingdom come. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, your love, your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The program will begin shortly. Please take your seats. The program will begin shortly.
Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher. Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, your love, your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. You are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Oh, oh, oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The program will begin in 2 minutes. The program will begin in 2 minutes.
Standing here in your presence, in a grace so relentless, I am won by perfect love, wrapped within the arms of heaven, in a peace that lasts forever, sinking deep in mercy seat. I'm wide awake, drawing closer by grace, and all my heart is yours. All fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your your When I'm lost, you pursue me. Lift my head to see your glory, Lord of all. So beautiful. Here in you I find shelter, captivated by the splendor of your face. My secret place, I'm wide awake, drawing closer by grace, and all my heart is yours. All fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your love.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage CEEP Network Executive Director Joe Swimmer.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. How about a oh, wow, okay. How about a big good morning? Good morning. Good morning. Wow, okay, so all the CEEP junkies are in the house. and we appreciate that. You should be grateful. 2 years ago, this meeting was scheduled at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. So we moved it for your convenience and, of course, for me not looking horrible at 7 a.m. in the morning. We are so glad to have you here. I was just reflecting as I was getting ready to come up here, this is almost 2 years in this role. It was 2 years ago. It was almost 2 years ago, or it is 2 years ago in San Antonio that I was named executive director and stepped into the very big shoes of Cynthia. And it has been an amazing ride, and I've gotten to meet so many of you all and be with so many of you all, and I'm looking forward to doing even more of that in the coming year and years. It has been a really tremendous year for the CEEP network. We're almost 200 Episcopal parishes, cathedrals, and institutions across the country. You'll hear more about our new members in just a bit from Ann Schmidt. But it's just tremendous to see the interest and growth in the churches that want to connect with each other and the institutions that want to be in touch with each other to strengthen up their leadership as we face a changed and changing church. So from the bottom of my heart, for all the work that I get to do every day, thank you. You make this a really awesome and tremendous experience. With that, I would like to invite up our board president, Ms. Sheila Casey Brown of Virginia Theological Seminary, for a few words.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. And thank you to all of you for being here this morning and for being here for the 2020 CEEP Network Annual Gathering. I hope it has been a wonderful time of connection and learning for you thus far, and there's still a day and a half to come. So thank you again for being here. Joe mentioned that it was 2 years ago that he was named executive director, and I just want to take a moment on behalf of the board, the program committee, and all of the CEEP network members to say thank you officially, Joe, for the amazing 2 years. We are truly blessed to have Joe leading us in our efforts. And speaking about our efforts, you'll be hearing more about some of the exciting programs that have been going on this past year. I want to step back a little bit and just as a reminder to some, and perhaps news to some of the rest of you who are here for the first time, say a little bit about a strategic planning process that the board was engaged in 2018-2019 that led to some of the programming that you are now able to participate in and learn from. The board, under the leadership of Matt Hyde, engaged in a year-long process of strategic narrative, strategic planning. We were aided by Nathan Kirkpatrick, who you'll be hearing from in a few minutes, and we also engaged with our stakeholders across the church, and we were very mindful of who was not at the table, what voices did we want to be sure to include. And after a marvelous year-long process, we found that we were able to really focus in on CEEP is all about strengthening leaders for a changing church. That was not really rocket science news to some people, but it was wonderful to have it crystallized. And we do this through connecting, equipping, and all of our work through the lens of diversity. So with that as a framework, we have our annual gathering, which you are engaged in now and which you'll hear more about from Joe later on, as well as some other programs. But I just wanted to set that framework for you all. And then I have the joy of thanking and honoring and introducing and looking forward to that very much. And in doing so, I just want to again thank all of you for being here. It just means a lot to us to have this time to engage with you, and we relish it very much. I'd like now to call Ann Schmidt to the stage, and Ann will share our new members with us, and we can welcome them.
Good morning. I am so pleased to welcome 20 new members to the CEEP network. St. James Church, New London, Connecticut. St. Anne's, Annapolis, Maryland. Emmanuel Church, Baltimore, Maryland. Trinity Church, Toledo, Ohio. St. Andrew's Episcopal, Norfolk, Virginia, St. John's Lafayette Square, Washington, D.C., All Saints Church in Phoenix, Arizona, Trinity in Columbus, Georgia, Calvary Episcopal Church in Stonington, Connecticut, St. John's from Memphis, Tennessee, Christ Church, St. Michael's, Maryland, Church of Our Savior, San Gabriel, California, the Episcopal Preaching Foundation in Springfield Township, New Jersey, Fund for the Diaconate in Somerville, New Jersey, Church Divinity School of the Pacific, Berkeley, California, St. John's Episcopal Church, McLean, Virginia, and the Siemens Church Institute of New York, New Jersey, New York, New York. Welcome. We're so glad to have you part of the network. It is my pleasure to introduce Wendy Monty to present the Treasurer's Report.
Good morning. As Ann said, my name is Wendy Monty, and I've had the privilege and joy to be the treasurer this year of the CEEP Network Board, a board that is committed to, among other things, stewardship of resources and financial oversight. This has been a year of living into a strategic plan announced last year at last year's annual gathering, centering around strengthening leaders for a changing church. It's been a full year of Executive Director Joe Swimmer's leadership, connecting with and forging new relationships with parishes and partners. We have dreamt, and we have had a chance to implement dreams. Next slide. On the revenue side, the annual gathering in Boston was one of our highest attended, and we had a record number of sponsors. In 2019, we were able to meet or surpass budgeted income line items. Income for 2020 is budgeted to be flat, with no change to our conference registration fees or to our membership dues structure. Next slide. Actual expenses for 2019 were under budget by $20,000, and we have budgeted only a small increase for 2020. As you can see, we are comfortably positioned as we have entered 2020 with a surplus of $79,000. The board is committed to being conservative with the surplus, yet employing it to envision and experiment in support of the strategic plan. Thank you. And now I'd like to invite Sheila back to the stage.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you for the amazing work you do as treasurer. We're very, very blessed to have Wendy. I would like to take this opportunity to offer thanks to our planning committee. All that you've experienced thus far and have ahead of you for the next day and a half is due to the planning committee working alongside Joe Swimmer. So we will be offering gratitude to the planning committee, and I know many of them are here, and if they could stand as their photos are being shown, that would be lovely. Many of them are also off making sure that the next session you go to is taken care of. So if they're not here, but if you are, please wave. Thank you for making all of this possible. And I'd also like to welcome the new members of the Planning Committee for next year's 2021 conference. Stephen, Adam, Zach, and James. Thank you for coming aboard, and thank you in advance for your work. And now I'm going to ask Alan Johnson-Taylor, a member of the board, to come forward, and he will be saying a few words about our retiring board members. Alan.
Special gratitude to board members who are leaving, retiring from the board. Two of them who could not be here this morning, that's Steve Carlson and Susie Mink. But we wanted to acknowledge the tremendous work that Matt Hyde has done in helping bring the board to where it is, to help CEEP where it is today. So we'd ask Matt if he would come forward, and we have a special gift for him this morning. This comes from Joe.
Hot sauce, perfect. The absolute
I'm getting my steps in, you can see. I would like to now ask the current CEEP Network board members to stand so that they can be recognized. Many of them are up front. You've seen some of them already. Please do stand. And I'm delighted to share with you those who are on the slate as incoming members of the CEEP Network Board. Johnny Alex of Christ Church Cathedral in Indianapolis. Johnny, can you come up onto the stage, please? Janet Broderick, Rector of All Saints, Beverly Hills. Janet, if you're here, if you could come up. Dwight Kahn, Rector of Epiphany in Seattle. Doyd, and Peggy Lowe, assistant at St. Chrysostom's in Chicago. These three, along with Janet Broderick, are slated to join the board, and I ask for your delighted and affirmative round of applause as affirmation of that. We are tremendously excited to have this new class joining us. And before I mention the new executive committee, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge those who are in the audience who are past board presidents and past board members. We stand on the shoulders of those who go before us, and we offer great gratitude. So if you could just take a quick moment to stand, I would be so grateful. We all would be, so that we can offer our thanks to you all. Thank you. And now it gives me enormous pleasure to share with you the slate of officers for the coming year. To everyone's great delight and relief, Wendy Monty is staying as treasurer of CEEP. Anne Marie Richards is our new secretary. And Ann Schmidt is going to be vice president of the CEEP Network Board. And I'm honored to say that Alan Johnson Taylor is going to be the new president of the CEEP Network Board. And while I don't have a gavel to turn over to Alan, I'm very delighted to turn the podium over to Alan. Many thanks to all of you. It's been an honor to serve as your president this year. Thank you.
Good morning again. Good morning. I want to say thanks to those who nominated me for this office and all who voted for me. The confidence you have placed in me is a sacred trust. As such, my hope is that together we will build on the hard work of past board members and presidents. It is Paul who wrote in 1 Corinthians, "According to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and someone else is building on it. Each builder must choose with care how to build on it. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one that was been laid. That foundation is Jesus Christ." I stand on the shoulders and board members and presidents who have gone on before me. Looking back, I'm grateful to the hard work of all who have helped CEEP evolve to where it is today, and I'd like to acknowledge the past three presidents who have agreed to be a sounding board and be there if I need to talk with them, and that's Sheila Casey Brown, the outgoing president, Matt Hyde for his work. Matt. And Luke, if you're here this morning, would you stand? Luke back. Looking forward, I see opportunities and excitement. And as I was getting ready to address you this morning, I was reflecting on the cartoon from Family Circus. And Dolly is talking to her mother, and Billy is in a chair with a cell phone in his hand. And Dolly says to Mom, Billy says he doesn't have to go to church anymore because his phone has an app for that. The church is evolving, it is changing. But my hope is that for CEEP, we will continue to be a joyful, hopeful place. And so with the board and everyone, together we will work to continue growing and equipping leaders for that changing church. I hope that that quote was not a prophetic utterance, rather it was a tongue-in-cheek statement of the work that is before us, a church that is evolving, that is changing, and how do we position ourselves to meet that changing church. Thank you. And now I invite Joe back to the stage. Joe?
Thanks, Alan. Thank you, sir. We're really excited to be working with Alan this year as our incoming board president, and I want to say a special thanks to Sheila for the past year. It was amazing working with you. Thank you. You really did help to make this year happen. So a big round of applause for Sheila Casey Brown, please. As with any of these presentations, things get forgotten, things get lost, somebody gets overlooked, and I want to do my best not to make that happen. I'm sure that somebody will come up to me afterwards and say, oh, you forgot this too. But I wanted Karen Krasirik from Christ Church Cathedral in Houston. Karen, would you please stand up? She is the one that I really am feeling bad about because she got left off of our planning committee photo spread. And she has been just tremendous. The new administrator down at Christ Church Cathedral with Barclay Thompson. Karen, thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it very much. Before we jump into the subject of the slide, I wanted to share just a little bit about what we were up to in the last year. Of course, we had our annual gathering in Boston. It was a hopeful, joyful event. People walked away going, oh, yeah, that was just awesome. It was so great. Sam Wells was wonderful. Having Christina Cleveland really got us thinking. She was an amazing speaker. All of the sponsors that we had and the workshops that we shared with folks, it was a joyful and hopeful experience. But we also were engaged throughout the year with members of the CEEP network in different venues. One of those was with our young rectors. Now, when I say young, I'm not talking about like your 18-year-old rector, but I tried to call them junior rectors, and they said, no, that's more insulting than young rectors. So they went with young, and they actually have a new name for themselves. It's a secret name, which I'm going to share with you. They call themselves the Unicorn Clergy Group. But these are some of our younger rectors in our bigger parishes, and they are gathering together with each other on a regular basis to support each other, to share in these ministries at these parishes that they may not have been expected to be called at the age that they are today. So we're really excited about that. They are continuing to take off, and we're going to be looking at how to evolve that program. Similarly, we had a group of our rectors and deans who are in more complex parishes come together, those that have significant staff, those who have challenges that you might not face in what would be a typical CEEP parish. And they gathered at Christ Church Cathedral down in Houston and had a really fulsome and wonderful few days together, and we'll be gathering again this year. So we were very fortunate to do that. Also had intended to have a session out on the West Coast because as I've seen on Twitter, and remember, Twitter is not church, but they do have some good ideas on occasion, and particularly Chris Rankin Williams, who is a frequent Twitter user. I don't even know how to say it, but he reminded us not to forget the West Coast. We intended to have a session on the West Coast, but because of logistics, we weren't able to, and we intend to do that this year. and be looking for more information about that. So it's been a very active and busy year, particularly when there is one full-time employee, that'd be me, but supported by so many great people, particularly on our planning committee, our board, and many of you all in the membership who either hosted us or gave us ideas to make things happen. I was really excited about the one larger activity that we did about in the last year, the Beyond the Pledge and Plate gathering that we held at Cayuga. And I'm not going to share about it. I actually want to have some of the dreamers, the folks who helped us come up with this idea and the concept for it, come up and talk a little bit. So I'm going to introduce now Nathan Kirkpatrick. Nathan is the managing director of Alban at Duke. You may remember Alban Institute, which now resides within the home of the Duke School of Theology. Nathan is there, and he is a true thought partner to me and with me, and I'm grateful beyond measure for what you have been able to help us do this year, and I'm looking forward to hearing you share a little bit about Beyond the Pledge and Plate. Thanks, Nathan.
So it was 2012 for me, my first CEEP conference in the Hilton in Charlotte. And what I experienced there is an experience I imagine you have had at CEEP, where all of a sudden you're standing in line for coffee or for breakfast, and you find yourself talking to somebody and you realize that you are not alone. That the question your congregation is asking is a question that other congregations are asking. That you, as a rector or dean or as a warden or a vestry person or as a lay committed member, you are asking a question that resonates throughout the room. And you find your experience in their experience. In this season, in this era when congregations are asking new questions about familiar challenges and new opportunities, or familiar challenges and new opportunities, as our inherited models of mission, ministry, structure, and economics begin to shift and change, as how we gather and where we gather, and who leads us and who supports congregations, and how we pay for it. As all of those models shift and change, part of what we have to find are new ways of being for one another, being with one another, supporting one another's leadership. We have to find new ways of resourcing one another so that more people, so that more of us have that moment when we look across the table and say, "You too? I thought I was the only one." We need more opportunities. And this year, in September, at Cayuga, against their rich hospitality, we found a 4-day learning event to be an opportunity to harness the creative capacity of CEEP congregations and clergy, to draw on the vision and global experience of Trinity Wall Street, to harness the wisdom that resides in our pews and that can be found beyond our walls. And across 4 days, we talked about the economic model of congregational life. And we talked about what if that economic model is shifting and the new model is yet unclear? What if beyond pledge and plate, what if our future is beyond pledge and plate? How do we think about creative uses for our lands and buildings? How do we think about new collaborations with our communities and our partners locally or beyond? How do we think about those things so that the future of the church is indeed hopeful and joyful now? It was 4 days of learning. It was 4 days of collaboration and conversation that mattered. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of what CEEP is envisioning as new ways of finding one another and supporting one another, as so much is shifting. Part of what I loved about the gathering was to say that there was, in fact, wisdom beyond the church and wisdom within our pews that we needed to hear. That other parts of the economy are wrestling with the same kinds of questions, and that there are people farther down the road who actually have witness and wisdom for us. You will hear more about this gathering. You will hear more in the next few minutes about this gathering, and you will hear more about the future. But for now, I want to invite you to look across the table. And once again, just say you're not alone. There's somebody else in this network that's facing the same challenge, that's facing the same opportunity, and you can support one another. You are not alone in this work, and that's a gift. And I'm grateful to be in this work with Michael Sullivan from Cayuga. Michael hosted the event for us in September, this Beyond the Pledge and Plate gathering, and he's going to share a bit about Cayuga's ministry and also the gathering from his perspective. Michael.
I bring you greetings from Western North Carolina, where on 1,400 acres, we are home to the largest camp and conference facility historically affiliated with the Episcopal Church. I tell a story all the time, and I'm going to tell it again, because it's directly related to what we are doing in collaboration with CEEP. And it's the story of our founder, Kirkman Finley, the first bishop of Upper South Carolina, an immigrant to the United States, a man who in his parish abolished pew rentals and gave women the right to vote 10 years before the United States Constitution did the same. A bishop who stood in South Carolina in the 1930s and said that black Episcopalians should have seat, voice, and vote at council, only to be voted down by his council. His response? To bang the gavel so hard on the podium that he broke the crystal in his watch. That is the DNA of Cayuga. All of our history is not that beautiful. We rode the coattails of the Episcopal Church as long as we could. But the DNA was there because the good news was there. What we seek as an institution serving the Episcopal Church is to partner with people, parishes, and institutions that are willing to challenge the status quo for the good news. What we seek is collaboration and partnership for adaptive ministry and change management in a changing church. And so when Joe and I began to talk based upon the strategic plan of CEEP, we recognized that to go to a place with the DNA of Cayuga, where you can be your created self, where you can be vulnerable and challenge the status quo, to be told that you are good, was a natural fit. And so I hope that if we can partner with you, that you'll reach out to us, because we know we need to change. We have the capacity. We have the assets. Will we believe we've always had the DNA? I'd like to show you a little bit about what happened this past fall and what might happen again this coming fall.
From 2008 to 2018, Sunday attendance in the Episcopal Church dropped 25% in a decade.
I think it's still morning, so good morning. I'm Anne Marie Richards, and it is my honor, joy, and privilege to serve as the rector of Emmanuel Church in downtown Baltimore, Maryland.
I'm Demetrius Gregg. I am serving my lifetime sentence as treasurer of Emmanuel Church in Baltimore.
I told him the only way out of that lifetime sentence was to serve as senior warden. He chose to stay as treasurer. I want to talk a little bit about this wonderful experience that we had together at Cayuga. So I'll frame it by saying that I became the rector of Emmanuel Church on May 20th. And just 4 months later, we left and drove from Baltimore to Western North Carolina together. That's a good bonding experience with your treasurer. 1 month into my new rectorate, the applications for this particular conference were opened up, and I had no idea about what we would do with it, but I knew that this was going to be foundational to my work with a brand new congregation, and indeed it has been. When you hear the title, Beyond Plate and Pledge, you think that maybe it sounds like, oh, this is another stewardship conference, and I bet all the capital campaign firms will be there, and that is not what it was. It was so much more, so far beyond plate and pledge. It was not about collecting monetary resources out of people and pockets and checkbooks. It was about opening up resources and receiving resources and multiplying resources that exist in our buildings and in our communities, and most importantly, in our individual people. One of our exercises involved having to sketch the person who was sitting next to you. I am not an artist, and this is really tiny, and you can't really see it, but this is my sketch of my seatmate. Yeah, I won't be the next Jay Sidebotham. But I keep this piece of paper in the front of a series of notebooks that I carry around with me, whichever one is active at the moment, because I wrote at the bottom of it something that I heard said at Cayuga, and it's this: fear causes your thinking to be small. Fear causes your thinking to be small. If we can eliminate fear as a factor in our life together, in our decision-making process, in our strategic planning process, imagine the resources that are opened up for us. It gets us so far beyond plate, pledge, and the dreaded, we've always done it that way. It allows you to go beyond fixing a symptom and instead look at the roots and the causes, and how we can go out and make a difference in the world. And I was inspired by our friends from within the church in St. Francis Ministries, certainly from Cayuga, from Trinity Church Wall Street, excuse me. And I was inspired by the young entrepreneurs, and maybe not so young entrepreneurs, who came and shared with us how in the wider community, thinking beyond had opened up opportunities for them. And so then the crazy new 4-month-old rector and the dedicated, awesome treasurer came back
I
and
pay her to
hit
say
the
that,
vestry.
by the way. So, one of my favorite things about treasurer is putting together our budget. And anyone who has gone through that process knows that it can test your faith. It can test your patience. It can test your friendships. When we got back from Cayuga, one of the ideas that really resonated with us was this idea of rapid prototyping. Try something, it fails, try something else. And Anne-Marie and I had some great meetings with the vestry, and it's like, okay, we're going to change the way we fund our ministry here. So she gave a very impassioned sermon later in October as we were putting together our budget. And she, said to us, it's like, you guys are addicted to your endowment to fund your operations as a church. It was a bit uncomfortable, but it was a hard truth that we needed to hear. And so we reshaped our budget process. In a matter of 3 months, we were really able to reduce that reliance on the endowment and direct those resources into outreach for our community and really get our community to step up and fund the operations of the church so we wouldn't have to rely so heavily on our endowment. And it surprisingly worked. Our community has always been, oh, the endowment will pay for it. We have resources. It's all taken care of. But the conversations that we were able to have at Cayuga, which gave us the opportunity to have really meaningful connections with our colleagues in the church, and we'll be starting a strategic planning process with the Alban Institute this spring. And we're really, looking at how we can do things differently and really be of service to our community and not to ourselves. And that was a great experience for me, which is why I didn't mind signing the check for CEEP membership for this year. The folks at Cayuga made us feel so welcome. CEEP, your team, thank you so much. You guys are having a great impact in our church community, so we're very grateful for that.
I just want to say that we are delighted to have in part of our partnership. First of all, you saw that the application date is going to open up. It's a new cohort for this event. Get on it. Get in and do it. It's absolutely a wonderful experience. Part of what made this possible is an ongoing relationship that CEEP has with Trinity Church Wall Street. And I believe that we are welcoming to the stage now Neil Coleman from Trinity Church Wall Street.
Good morning. So as Chief Philanthropy Officer at Trinity Church Wall Street, I have the honor to lead our grants and mission investing team, which manages our philanthropic work. And I'm here to share another opportunity to build on the work that you've been hearing about this morning around CEEP's leadership at the Beyond the Plate and Pledge convening in Cayuga. So as you just heard about the Cayuga convening, that was an opportunity for leaders from across the church to explore new ways of leveraging the resources and assets that God has given us to finance our ministry. And at Trinity Church Wall Street, we see a deep synergy between the CEEP Network's mission of strengthening leaders for a changing church and our own strategic mission priorities, building up our neighborhood, building leadership in the church, and building financial capacity for service. And so to advance the financial capacity goal, we seek to partner with parishes and dioceses across the US and around the world to build financial sustainability for ministry through the creative development of assets, particularly real estate. And I want to share, as I said, a little bit more about this other opportunity that's coming up a little later this year, the gift of place. So why this title, The Gift of Place? We believe that each parish has been given a gift of place, that we have been given by God everything that we need for what we have been called to do in our ministry. Our task is to discern and deploy these gifts. And we are called to be stewards of that place so we can serve our neighborhoods and communities in multiple ways. So informed by the conversation at the Beyond and Plate and Pledge convening in Cayuga, Trinity Church Wall Street is thrilled to be partnering with the CEEP Network to host a small convening at our new ministry space, Trinity Commons, and it will be taking place in New York City in November 19th and 20th. This Gift of Place convening will be focused on gathering together parishes that are actively exploring opportunities to use their land to finance ministry and build community. That could be you. At the convening, parishes will share opportunities and challenges and learn from each other as they develop a plan for their real estate assets. That could be affordable housing, or retail space, or office space. Talking of space at the conference will be limited. We deliberately want to have a cohesive group that can really learn from each other. But if you're interested in attending, please visit our website. We have a special URL you'll see there at the bottom of the slide, trinitywallstreet.org/giftofplace. If you go there, you can register to be on the mailing list to receive updates on how and when to apply. That will likely be the end of April when we'll be opening up applications. And please come talk to me or my colleague, Sarah Arney. Sarah's here. Sarah's the program director for Mission Real Estate Development on the Grants and Mission Investing team at Trinity. And we will also have postcards with additional information that we'll be handing out at the end of this session. And so thank you also to CEEP for inviting us to partner with you on this exciting endeavor. Thank you.
Many thanks to Neil and to Sarah, who is with us at Canuga. Of course, thanks to Canuga and Michael Sullivan and the whole team for hosting us back in September of last year for the first of these ongoing meetings. If you haven't been to Canuga, you have to go. It's not only beautiful, but they have this thing called Canuga toast. And it's really not delicious, but it's something you have to try. It's worth trying. They now dip it in chocolate to make it delicious. So, but Canuga is a wonderful partner, along with Alban at Duke, our good friend Nathan Kirkpatrick and the work that they're doing, and of course Trinity Church. The depth of our partnerships is continuing to grow, or deepen, I guess is the better way, with depth. And it's absolutely amazing to see what's coming together. It's a thrilling moment for finding ways to strengthen leaders for a changing church. As we go forward, we would, there we go, beyond the pledge and plate, talk again about the new cohort that will be forming September 22nd through the 25th. Of course, we will send out an invitation with a link to a URL application sometime again around the April timeframe when Trinity Church will send out the invitation to their gathering, which we're thrilled to partner with them on. Space will be limited. This year, instead of the 45 parish teams that we had, we'll likely have 15 parish teams. So get your application in early, and it's a new cohort. Last year, it was amazing to see the breadth of participation. You heard St. Mary's Anchorage was there. We had California, we had Florida, we had New York, and seemingly everywhere in between. It was just such a wonderful, and again, hopeful, joyful. Those are the two things that keep coming out at CEEP Network gatherings. So beyond the pledge and plate, we also will continue with our other gatherings. We will have another rector and dean cohort that will gather besides the one that has gathered last year with Barclay down in Houston. So be on the lookout for that invitation, as well as a new young rector cohort. So if you are young or young at heart and you feel that this is a place that you would fit, you are someone in a complex parish and you need to be in conversation about how to run that complex parish with peers, reach out to me, let me know, and we'll get you involved with that. And then, of course, we'll be talking again next year at our 2021 annual gathering. Before we get to 2021 and we all get out of here and go eat the lunch that we're so desperate for, I want to say a special thank you to two very important women. Elizabeth Bowe. Elizabeth, please stand up. And Pat Hurley. Pat Hurley, please stand up. These two kept me sane and made this conference happen. Really, it could not have come off without you all. I am so grateful. The planning committee is so grateful. Of course, everything the planning committee did was with their help and their guidance, and so thank you all very much. Pat is now retiring off of the planning committee. Thank you for all of your hard work. Elizabeth will be co-chair this year with Will Stanley. Will you stand up, please? Will is recently named Vicar of St. Stephen's in Richmond, and we're thrilled about that. Pat has been named Vicar of the U.S. Virgin Islands and will be, she's got the great opportunity to move to the Virgin Islands, which I can only imagine how fabulous that's going to be. So we will miss you, Pat. But thank you all for that work. And that leads me to where we will be next year. So with that.
Hello, and welcome to this year's CEEP conference. It's a real joy to welcome you to this conference as you gather to think of ways and learn new ways to strengthen leaders for the church, and more importantly, for the Jesus ministry, which is the heart and soul of who we are as the church. Jesus genuinely called together a community of people who gathered around him centuries ago. They gathered around him and made a commitment to his teachings, his example, and his living spirit and his living, risen reality. And his life changed their lives, and his way of love became their way of life. And they were changed, and they in turn changed the world. What was true for them in the first century can be true for us in the 21st century. Key to that are leaders, passionately committed to the teachings and the example and the spirit of Jesus of Nazareth, and leaders who are committed to serving the church and serving the world and helping the church to be the world's servant in our time, in our day. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for gathering for this assembly. And I look forward to being with you in Dallas in 2021 at the 2021 CEEP conference. God love you. God bless you. And you have a great conference.
We are excited to have a return visit from our presiding bishop, the royal wedding preacher, and all-around good guy, Michael Curry. So we are looking forward to him keynoting. We have another exciting announcement. Those of you who might be Anglophiles or familiar with those in the Church of England, the Reverend Lucy Winkett, who is the vicar of St. James Piccadilly, will be our preacher and also be sharing with us in the educational program. There will be more exciting news to come about Dallas 21, which is being hosted by our good friends at Church of the Transfiguration and St. Michael and All Angels. I list them alphabetically because they tend to have something of a rivalry. But we are very excited to be with Rector Chris Garata and Rector Casey Shobe and to share with you at the Fairmont downtown. Then, in 2022, as you might have heard last year, we are going off to Atlanta and to visit with Rector Simon Manwaring and the good folk at All Saints and all of our member parishes there. And now I'm really excited to announce that in 2023, which seems so far away but isn't, we will be going off to Jacksonville. We'll go to Jacksonville, Florida, where I'm sure it will be balmy 60. But it'll be warm. It'll be nice and warm, and we are thrilled to be going to visit with Dean Kate Moorhead and the good folk at St. John's Cathedral. So Kate is excited to have us, and we will be at the Hyatt in Jacksonville, which apparently out of your room you can see dolphins in the St. John's River. So looking forward to that. That wraps up our annual meeting, but before we close, I get to say once again, thank you. I get to say thank you for your membership in the CEEP network. I also get to encourage you to share the word about what's going on here, all the good things that you might be experiencing. If you had things that you would like us to improve upon, I want you to share those with us as well. But most of all, just go out, enjoy the rest of this conference, enjoy the learning that you've gotten to take home with you here, and of course have safe travels home. Thank you for being with us. We look forward to welcoming you next year to Dallas, and please have safe journeys on your way. Take care.